For this season, in order to get face to face with monsters from the sea, I had to seek out new technology. Now, I've been diving for about 25 years, mostly using scuba gear like this. This is a big tank of compressed air. You breathe in and out through this. When you breathe out, you've actually got bubbles going out into the water. But from my point of view, as somebody who likes to look at fish, the big drawback to scuba is those bubbles. They just make a lot of noise, it's a lot of visual disturbance, and it scares fish away. So what I decided to do for this season was to train to use one of these. This is a closed circuit rebreather unit, and the air that you breathe in comes down this tube here, and when you breathe out, there's no bubbles. Your exhaled air goes into this pipe here, and it goes back into this boxatrix here. And what this does, it removes the carbon dioxide, but they can sometimes go wrong. For example, too much carbon dioxide, that can make you black out, and that can happen without warning. So you really need to be aware at all times that this is functioning properly, and if it isn't, you need to know what to do, because if this thing does go wrong, the results can be very bad indeed. Statistically, you're more likely to die rebreather diving than normal scuba diving, because the process is far more complex. So it was with some trepidation that I headed out to Florida for intensive rebreather training. This was going to be a major personal challenge, and I didn't want to let myself or the team down. I had just 4 days to get to grips with this new gear. The conditions are generally good, but one little detail is we've had reports of Portuguese man-of-war.
There it is. There's one of the. That's a Portuguese man-of-war there. See that?
There,
Did you see it? Just be mindful of that when we're coming up, because that's when you're not kind of looking up, isn't it? So much. So.
And again, if I'm just paying attention on
the rebreather,
buoyancy and stuff,
yeah.
Okay. The long, trailing tentacles release venom that's agonizing for humans. Death is rare, but this floating terror can kill. And because they're almost transparent, they're very hard to spot. But deadly creatures were not the only thing on my mind. I've just a little bit of queasiness. If you do happen to throw up in a rebreather, what happens?
Don't. Do not.
Just don't.
Do not.
I worried about the implications of vomiting into my rebreather and blocking my air supply. Getting off the boat and into the water only brought partial relief. Not as much fun as I thought it was going to be. I was quite nauseous when I went in, and I'm still nauseous now. So it was, at least I didn't throw up in there. I'd never had to cut a dive day short before like this. It was a big worry, and it was only day one. We actually decided to call the second dive off. This would be an enjoyable dive, and I was thinking more of just sort of getting it over with, which is not the right frame of mind. So, on balance, weighing everything all up, we decided it wouldn't be good to go on. It's not safe to dive if you feel unwell, and even though we were short on time, safety always comes first. We decided to wait until the next day before diving again. The whole new season rested on my ability to use this equipment in the ocean, so the pressure was enormous. If my goal was to have the closest possible encounters with monsters from the deep, I needed to nail this training. On the second day, my diving improved. Finally, I started to relax. But in these waters, that can be a big mistake. While we were under, the boat captain spotted several deadly Portuguese man-of-war. They were very near the boat, and the air bladder of one was just a few feet from my head. The boat crew tried to warn us, but underwater we didn't hear them.
Jeremy, watch your back.
Only once I was safely back on the boat did the message finally filter through.
Look at the man-of-war behind you.
I'd been in the water with half a dozen of these translucent terrors. It was one more hazard to think about when my mind already felt full. I didn't see it until I was back on the boat. And what's sort of good about that, number one, is not getting stung by it, but number two is just remembering that the dive is not over until it's over. I suppose, I was concentrating on, right, I've now got to hang on to the line, I've got to get my fins off, all that kind of stuff. But even when you're doing that, don't take your eyes off the environment.
But with my confidence slowly building, I felt capable of tackling some deep water wrecks during the last 2 days of the training.
I think we can call that successful.
After an intensive 4 days, including repeated safety drills, I finally felt comfortable and in control.
You look like a rebreather diver on that.
Good.
Diving with the rebreather, it's amazing. I remember the first time I tried it out, I just couldn't believe how close the fish were. It was almost as if I wasn't there, it was just a pair of eyes floating around underwater. And I was really enjoying spending time underwater, just getting familiar with the gear, gradually improving my mastery of it. However, here I am, newly familiar or newly learning this piece of equipment, and we had a call through, a tip-off, something that if we were really, really lucky, we might be able to film, something underwater it's almost never been filmed before. And if we could get a shot of me in the frame with this creature, that would be a world first. So here I am, I'm wanting more time perfecting my mastery of this equipment, but we've got to go. There's a very, very small window of opportunity. We have to go now.
Struggling even more than Kelly was our cameraman and River Monsters veteran, Chris Stitchman, who, try as he might, couldn't find his sea legs.